o'clock, so we will get started. So welcome to the May monthly call. This is Misty Woods, and I will be conducting today's call. So let's get started. So here's the agenda for today. First, we'll talk about the administrative reviews and procurement reviews for both current year and next school year. We'll go over a few reminders about the seamless summer option, a few reminders about the summer feeding program. We'll go over a few reminders about the food service management company, and then we'll talk again about health inspections, and then we'll go over a few slides about the audit report submission, and then we'll have a slide on summer EBT, and then we'll discuss the memos that have been recently posted, and then we'll discuss some upcoming trainings and events, and again, we'll talk about Louisiana Trade of the Week, and then we will finish up talking about some upcoming changes for the Division of Nutrition Support. All right. So we've kind of went over this a few times on different calls before, but I just wanted to give everybody the most up-to-date information regarding administrative reviews and procurement reviews. So current school year, so for 25-26 school year, we had 38 reviews. Majority were conducted by CNR, and LDOE did conduct some of them as well. The on-site reviews are all completed for both of us, for both CNR and LDOE. And right now, both CNR and LDOE are working on approving those SFAs that are still in the process of submitting corrective action and getting those approved in order for us to be able to close those reviews. We are, when I say we, I mean LDOE is completing follow-up reviews right now for SFAs that were determined high risk during their last school year review. So during 24-25 school year, if you were deemed high risk, we are currently working on getting those follow-up reviews completed. And most people have already been notified. Actually, I think everyone has been notified and is in the process of submitting the documentation for their follow-up reviews. I just want to mention about the follow-up reviews that we are conducting right now. If you are one of those SFAs that is getting a follow-up review right now, it's very important that whenever we're reaching out to you to submit that documentation that you are submitting it to us in a timely manner so that we can get these follow-up reviews conducted and closed out so that we can actually close your review. So let's briefly discuss about next year's administrative procurement reviews. So right now we have 33 administrative reviews and procurement reviews scheduled. If you are unsure when you're going to be reviewed, the schedule can be found on the CNP website. Once we finish conducting those follow-up reviews that I just mentioned, state agency staff will begin scheduling technical assistant visits for SFAs that are being reviewed next school year. We actually discussed that in a staff meeting this morning. So these technical assistant visits can possibly begin as early as this month and continue into the summer months. So please be mindful that if you are being reviewed next school year, someone will be reaching out to you soon to start scheduling technical assistant visits to help just get you ready for that review. I know a lot of people are probably excited to hear that we are planning to conduct approximately half of the scheduled reviews for next year. And then the rest of the reviews will be conducted by our contractor, which has been determined to be CNR for next school year. So again, we're talking about follow-up reviews. We're still getting a lot of questions about these. Just as reminders, the follow-up reviews are only being conducted in the area that was flagged or deemed high risk. And the way our plan works is that it has to be conducted within 24 months or sooner. And it's working out that we're doing it the following school year rather than waiting until the next school year, because then it's a time crunch to get it all completed on time. As of now, these are primarily being conducted by LDOE, and we are kind of using what we call a hybrid approach, meaning that it's on and off site. So, and again, this is done on a case-by-case basis. So if we don't need to go on site for a particular follow-up portion, we won't. We can do a desk audit for it, but sometimes we do need to go on site for it. There are potentials for fiscal finding or fiscal action, I should say, for repeat findings. We can consider to withhold payments. For repeat findings that are not corrected, again, this will be on a case-by-case basis, and we evaluate the causes of those repeat findings when we determine the extent of that fiscal action. And again, this is specific for follow-up reviews. Okay, let's briefly talk about Seamless Summer. So the application is submitted annually through our CMP website under the School Food Service tab with the Seamless Waiver heading. We want one application for all of your participating sites. There's no sponsor level application for those of you that kind of go back and forth between Seamless Summer and Summer Food Service Program. This is just one application. We would like for it all the sites to be submitted at the same time. And then again, we try to align our due dates with summer feeding. So if you were able to, we really wanted you to submit this by mid-April. However, we do understand that some people's plans have not been finalized yet. And if you are one of those, please make sure you are submitting this as soon as possible so we can ensure that we are aware that you are participating in the Seamless Summer program. Speaking of Seamless Summer, we always have to do reviews for Seamless Summer as well. So the SSO does follow that same calendar year, July 1st through June 30th. So if you're going to actually plan to extend your SSO into July, you can just let us know for now, but you're going to have to fill out that application to make sure the new application when it becomes available to cover you from July on. And like I just mentioned about the reviews, we're starting to gear up for that as well for Seamless Summer reviews. So you have to have a Seamless Summer review, just like your NSLP, once every 5 years. So you're either going to get your review the year before, the school year before, like the summer before your administrative review, or the summer after your administrative review. This is a fairly simple review compared to your administrative review. It's just another piece of it. So obviously it's done during the operation of the Seamless Summer program. So it will be done during the summer months. State agency goes and reviews a meal service at one or more of your sites, depending on how many sites you are operating. And then it does require us to basically have a review. So more than likely, we will be doing these all in June so that we can capture those. And then if we do have any issues, we have to make sure that we have that captured along with your administrative review findings and things like that, especially if any kind of fiscal action is involved. Okay, so let's briefly talk about the summer food service program. Just Toya wanted me to really reiterate the fact that all sites must be approved prior to the start of operations. If SFAs are approved for congregate meal service, that meals must be consumed on site, and that any meal served away from those approved locations without prior state agency approval will be disallowed. So children cannot take meals off site. If they do, they cannot be claimed. Another thing that's important is that FFAs must have approved non-congregant feeding sites established and approved within the CMP system before non-congregant meal service can begin. So please make sure you are getting all of the prior approvals before implementing any of these things. She also wanted me to make sure that I go over those deadline dates. So, the summer feeding plan was due back in March. The sponsor congregant site applications were due at the end of March. The non-congregant site requests were due by April 13th. And then that final non-congregant and other site applications are due by May 18th and greater than 14 days before operations start. So please make sure if you have any questions or you're not sure about anything, please contact Toya. She can definitely help you through getting through this process to make sure you get these things approved and submitted on time. Okay, for those that do food service management company, we do have some hard submission deadlines this year. So those SFAs that are needing to go out for bid this year for their food service management company, those step one documents were due by March 31st. The step 2 documents are due by May 31st. And then the step 3 documents need to be submitted within 10 calendar days of that SFA notifying the food service management company of the award. And then for those SFAs that are renewing their food service management company contracts, those agreement amendments were due by April 30th. And again, this is for your food service management company contracts for the upcoming school year. Health inspections, we did talk about health inspections on the last 2 calls. Just as a reminder, you need to have 2 food safety inspections from your local sanitarian office. You make sure you need to document your efforts as well, especially if you haven't received it yet. Again, you have to put these into our website, which we will go over in the next couple of slides. If you do not have gotten your health inspections yet, please make sure you are contacting the health inspector and writing, keeping track of your documentation of your efforts to trying to get these to obtain these ones. Because I do know there are certain areas of the state that struggle to be able to get all of their health inspections, not by their fault, but it's the health inspectors that aren't able to make it out there. So in that situation, what happens if you requested it, but it wasn't actually conducted? So you can still enter it into the CNP website. You just would select the school site that you're trying to add that inspection to, and you would choose no whenever you're asked the date of the inspection. And then for the reason, you're just going to select the option that inspection was requested but not conducted. And then once you save that, it will show as if you entered information for that school site, and it will allow you to submit your claims. And we'll talk about claims on the next slide. And then once you get the actual inspection, you can always go back in and edit that inspection to add the date and everything to it. So as a reminder, if you haven't already submitted your March claim, you're going to get a reminder prior to submitting, and a response is going to be required. And then when it comes time for you to submit your April claim, you won't be allowed to submit until you have all those health inspections entered in. All right, so the audit report submission, we talked about this on the last monthly call, and we made it known that, our internal auditor was coming to the state update. He profusely apologized. He ended up getting sick and was unable to come. So he did share with me a couple of screenshots of what he was going to show everyone at the state update. So this is the same slide that we talked about on the last call, and it reverts back to May of 2022 when there was a memo that came out that it said that LDOE, people that received LDOE funding had to submit their audit through the LDOE electronic audit submission portal. And through all of this process, and it came to light that some people or some sponsors did not actually receive this memo and did not know how to submit those audit reports through that portal. And then it also came to light that some of the private and parochial sponsors are exempt from submitting to the Louisiana Legislative Office. However, the exemption that's mentioned in that Louisiana revised statute does not exempt those entities from submitting audit reports through that LDOE electronic submission portal. So on the bottom of this slide, I do have questions that are related to this portal can be submitted to our Director of Internal Audit, which is Dudley, and his phone number and email is on this slide. And on the next 3 slides, I believe it is, I will show you some screenshots on how to get to it. So first things first, to get to the audit report portal, it can be found on the Louisiana Department of Education's website. And in the notes on here, when the slides are posted, I have the link to it if you don't already have it. So from the home page, the person is going to click on Data and Reports section. And then on that page, they're going to click on the LDOE Single Audit Report Submission Portal. And then this is actually going to take them to the LDOE report system. And there you follow the instructions to submit the audit report. Now, we do understand that you as the SFA may not be the person that actually does this. you may actually have someone within your school or your district that does this. So if we would just ask that you please pass this information on to the appropriate person on these instructions on how to complete it, or ensure that they know how, or make sure they have been submitting through the portal. And again, if you have questions relating to the portal, or if they have questions relating to the portal, they can always email or call Dudley. All right, really brief on summer EBT. So, as a reminder, the Division of Nutrition Support, so Louisiana Department of Education Division of Nutrition Support, is not the lead agency for summer EBT. Summer EBT is handled through LDH. So, the thing that you need to know about and make sure that your superintendents and your data people know about is that they should have received this data sharing agreement for the 2026 summer EBT program. That was back in March. It would have went to the superintendent. So on March 5th, there was an email that went out to the superintendents with that data sharing agreement. And the purpose of the agreement was to securely share student eligibility data for free and reduced price meals or other qualifying criteria as required to determine if they're eligible for Sunbucks. LEAs should have returned this signed agreement either using DocuSign or a wet signature. And for the time being, LDH had currently suspended those data manager access to Summer EBT portal for data uploads, but it was going to be reinstated after they received that data sharing agreement and it's fully executed with the LEA. So if you need more information regarding Sunbucks, you can go to LDH's website, specifically the Sunbucks portion of their website, or you can always contact the LDH PEBT support at la.gov if you have specific questions. Okay, so let's go over some memos. We don't have that many to go over, but we do have a few. So the first memo was about the May training. So today is the monthly call, and then mark your calendars for May 12th, which is next week. We will be going over the CEP elections. Those trainings have been, or that training, I should say, has been posted to Louisiana Fit Kids. So please go and register for that training. The next memo was about the paid lunch equities guidance for 26-27 school year. So this is a USDA memo, and it is providing guidance to the state agency and to SFAs on the paid lunch equity requirements for 26-27 school year. This memo goes into detail and explains the PLE exemption, and it also provides guidance for SFAs that do not qualify for the exemption. So, as similar to last year, actually, I should say the same as last year, SFAs with a positive or zero balance in the nonprofit school food service account as of this time will be as of June 30th, 2025, are exempt from the PLE pricing requirements. While it is not required, though, those exempt SFAs may still use the tool to complete the steps necessary to determine your target paid lunch prices consistent with program regulations and adjust your paid lunch prices accordingly. SFAs that had a negative balance in their nonprofit school food service account as of June 30th, 2025, must follow the PLE requirements and to establish their paid lunch prices for the 26-27 school year. So just know that the 26-27 school year PLE tool and instructions will be provided in a separate communication. We did receive the tool from USDA, I want to say it was last week. So we are in the process of developing the training for that, and we will have that PLE tool training in June. I will say this from the looks of it and from the explanation, the tool is basically the exact same as last year as far as how you complete it. We just have to go and update everything to change over the years because obviously you're gathering data from different years compared to last year's, but the actual way you complete the tool looks to be the same. Okay, the next memo is about the March Medicaid free lunch and Medicaid reduced lunch files that were loaded up to eScholar. The public and non-public schools should resolve their near matches in the batches that are listed. So if you need assistance with any of this, please email Wongon, and his email is on the bottom of the slide. And then we also had March SNAP and TANF files loaded to eScholar. Again, public schools and non-public schools should resolve the near matches on the batches that are listed on the slide. All right, so this is another USDA memo. This one was entitled School Meal Programs Reviewing Product-Based Added Sugar Limits for Breakfast Cereals, Flavored Milk, and Yogurt. So this specific USDA memo provides guidance on reviewing the product-based added sugar limits for, like I said, breakfast cereals, flavored milk, and yogurt. So just a little background. Effective July 1st, 2025, so this school year, the nutrition standards include a limit on the amount of added sugars allowed in breakfast cereals, flavored milk, and yogurt served in both NSLP and school breakfast. So as we talked about previously, you have to have the breakfast cereals can have no more than 6 grams of added sugars per dry ounce. Your flavored milk may have no more than 10 grams of added sugars per 8 ounces, or 15 grams of added sugars per 12 ounces for flavored milks that's sold as competitive, like for smart snack purposes. And then yogurt may have no more than 12 grams of added sugars per 6 ounces, or you could say 2 grams per ounce. So on the screen, we have the following resources that can help you assist both the state and local agencies in complying with these product-based limits. So there's one from USDA called Reducing Added Sugars in School Breakfast, and there's another from ICN that's called Nutrition Standards for Added Sugar Fact Sheets. So these resources can help school nutrition professionals in identifying and reducing sources of added sugars in school meals. The guide also highlights ways to determine added sugars in foods and beverages using tools such as nutrition facts label, the ingredients list, and nutrient analysis. So after USDA oversight tools are updated, the school meals program's administrative review materials will include instructions on reviewing those product-based added sugar limits through a streamlined review of the meal pattern requirements. But until then, us as state agencies, we're going to continue to assess breakfast cereal, flavored milk, and yogurt product offered during the review period. We're going to review the products by looking at their product information, such as those nutrition facts labels. And we will also use USDA's product-based added sugar guides, the tool, the limit tool, or any type of comparable tool that we have to assess and document the product's compliance. So basically, they're creating tools to help everyone being able to comply with these product-based limits. And then the last memo that we'll go over is about the June training. So June 2nd will be our next monthly call. And then after that, on June 16th, we will have our training on the paid lunch equity tool. Those trainings both have been posted to Louisiana Fit Kids to register for. All right, so let's talk about some upcoming training and events. So like we just talked about, the May monthly call is May 5th, CEP is May 12th, CEP elections. And then June 2nd will be the monthly call for June. And then the paid lunch equity tool training will be on June 16th. We talked about this before as well, the virtual manager training. That is the one that is going to be June 22nd through the 24th. So it's all day on the 22nd and 23rd, and then a half day on the 24th, with the assessment being that afternoon from 1:30 to 4. Again, this is available on Louisiana Fit Kids to register. So if you have anyone or any of your managers that you need to do manager training, you can send them to do for the virtual manager training. In addition to the virtual, we also have an in-person manager training for those that want to send managers in person. This one is July 6th through the 8th. Again, the first 2 days, the 6th and the 7th, will be all day. The 8th will be in the morning, will be training, and the afternoon will be the assessment. This one does come with a registration cost because it is on site. It is an $80 registration cost, and this training is limited to 40 attendees. So if you are planning to have a manager that you want to send to this in-person and training, please make sure you register them on Louisiana Fit Kids to reserve their spot for this training because this typically will fill up fairly quickly. And then the new director training has also been posted to Louisiana Fit Kids. This is July 21st and 22nd. So this will be 2 full days of training at Pennington for new directors. We are specifically focusing on directors that with less than 2 years of experience. However, if we have enough room, we will allow for up to 5 years of experience. So if you're unsure and you think you need this training, please register for this training. And if for some reason we get too many people, I can even consider seeing if Kathy at Pennington can get us a larger room. But please ensure that if you are a new director, we really want you to come to this training so that you can get a better understanding of things and make sure that you feel more comfortable at doing your job. So again, this has been posted on Louisiana Fit Kids. We are still in the process of putting this training together, so there is more information to come the closer we get to it. So one thing I want to mention, I keep continue to mention every month is if you sign up or register for a training and you need to cancel your training because you were unable to attend, please go on to the email that you receive when you register for the training and you can go in and update or cancel your registration. It's very simple. You just click on update or cancel meeting registration once you get there, and then you will be removed from the list. This is especially important like for the manager training that's in person, that if we once we get to 40 people, it begins a wait list. And if we have people that cannot attend, we would like to know so that we can offer it to another person because it's not the fact that we can't give it to more people, it's just we don't have the room based off of the amount of people that they have that can the room can fit. So if you ever, register for a training and you can't attend, please, as soon as you know, go and cancel your registration. I wanted to add this into here. The Institute of Child Nutrition does have some upcoming virtual instructor-led training sessions for this month. I do not know if they're last time I checked, they had availability. I know some of these fill up quickly, but if you have any interest or anyone in your school district, your staff have interest, there are several trainings that it basically is virtual, but it's led by an instructor. So tomorrow, actually, there's one on food safety in schools. Then on the 12th, there's one about food allergies. On the 13th, there's more about your food safety program. I believe every one of these is 2 hours, if I remember correctly. On May 20th, there's more on about food allergies and reading labels and avoiding cross contact. And then on May 21st, there is a manager's guide for strategies for leading effective teams. So if this is something you yourself or maybe some of your managers or staff may be interested in, have them go to ICN's website. If there's room, they can register and attend these trainings. And they were all in the afternoons, if I remember correctly. Okay, well, we're getting to the end of Louisiana Tray of the Week. It does continue through the end of next week. So anyone, any school or district is invited to participate. So it's a way to recognize and celebrate your school staff, to showcase, your meals that you're serving to students. So if you still are interested in participating in Louisiana Tray of the Week, please make sure you send your photos to either Kathy's email address or the Louisiana Fit Kids email address because each week they're selecting trays and they're featured on the Louisiana Fit Kids social media platforms. So when you do choose to submit for Louisiana Tray of the Week, make sure you're submitting your photos to Louisiana Fit Kids website email address or to Kathy Carmichael's email address. Please make sure that your tray meets the meal pattern requirements by clearly showing, all of those components that are offered. You also need to include a short description of the menu items and indicate the school where that meal was served. and provide a date that that meal was served. And as a reminder, your food should be attractively plated on the tray and photographed. And then the tray must be an accurate representation of what your students selected or what they could select for their meal. And then here's a reminder about how you should take your photo. You don't want to be too close or too high. You just want to be right at that right angle from the tray. And then we had a few people ask, where can you view the winners? So these selected trays are featured on Louisiana Fit Kids social media platforms. Featured images will also appear on, like I said, the Louisiana Fit Kids website in their weekly winners gallery. And so here's just a snapshot or a screenshot of what's been posted already. I know it's kind of small, but if you go to Louisiana Fit Kids website, you'll be able to see your trays or other people's trays displayed for the different weeks. Okay, so the last thing I want to go over is some upcoming changes. I just want to have to mention that so whenever you start seeing things on the website or things that we are releasing in the coming weeks, there are a few changes that you're going to start to see. So first, the CNP website changes. So we talked about this last year back in April at the April State Update back in 2025. So now a year later, it's finally starting. It's finally starting to happen. So in the coming weeks, what we call the old resource library will no longer be available, but you don't need to worry. All the information has been moved to what we call our new website. It's not really so new, but it's new to some people. On the slide, I actually have the link to the actual home page of the new website. So you should bookmark this page if you haven't done so already. We have been directing people to this for several months now. But if you are accustomed to the old resource library section of the website and you go to that page out of habit, you will no longer see what we call this blue screen that you see on the left-hand side of the screen. At that point, when you get to that page, you're going to be redirected to this, what we call new website. And that was the screenshot on the right looks like. So on that main page of this new website is where you will click on either memos or resources, whichever one you're looking for, to get to the necessary memos and resources section. And I will actually go through a couple of slides with some screenshots of what it looks like if you haven't been there already. But it's up and available. People have been using it for months now. So one thing to note about this new resource library is the improved searchability. So you can filter when you're looking for things by date, by resource type, by program, or even typing in a text. And you can also do it by tags to refine your search significantly and be able to pinpoint those relevant resources that you're looking for. So on the next screen, I have a screenshot of what it looks like. So on the left-hand side, is what the memos page looks like. And on the right-hand side is what the different resources look like. So it may be kind of small to see, but you can click on these different filters and it will narrow down your search significantly. So if let's say you were looking for something with wellness policy, well, the local wellness policy has 3 different resources. So if you were to check the box local wellness policy and click search, those 3 resources with local wellness policy would show up. Same thing, you can search by program. So if you search or clicked on SFS, you would only see the SFS resources or memos. You can use the year for memos or by date. You can choose the year, look at your memo for 2026. You can also search by looking at USDA memos versus local memos. So there's different ways. You just have to familiarize yourself. But all the information that was on what we call the old resource library is on the new resource library. So don't worry, if you get confused, give us a call, send us an email. We can help you find it if you need it. But again, this will be coming probably we're saying by I think sometime in June. So in the coming weeks, you will start to see this. Memos. Okay. So let's move on to changes with memos. So also in the coming weeks, you will begin to see less memos being sent out. And the reason being is that information that does not require an official memo will be sent out now through an email blast. So for example, like we had 2 memos about the direct match files being available for you, you currently get a memo. that will be changed to an email blast. Same information you will receive, it just be received through an email versus an actual memo being typed up and sent out. Another example is we had another memo about the upcoming trainings that will also come through an email blast rather than through a typed up and official memo. You will also notice a changing to the formatting and style of memos. So we will no longer use that nutrition support logo you see here on the left. We will now start to use the official LDOE logo that you see here on the right. So you'll just see some changing in the formatting and styles as well. In addition to changes to memos, you'll also begin to see some of the same changes to the forms and other resources. So you'll begin to notice change with the formatting and style for some forms and resources. We are working on updating the forms that have the official LDB logo as well. Some forms already have it. Some of our older forms do not, but some of those forms are still current. So we have, right now, we have the most current and updated forms on our website. So as we continue to update more and complete them, we will replace them with a new form. So if you go on the website and you find that form, that means you can use that form. But please note, this is a work in progress, so it will take us some time to get all of the forms and resources updated. One other thing I did fail to mention that I should have mentioned about is, in addition, all of our forms and trainings, we're having to ensure that they meet the accessibility guidelines, meaning that we have to have documents that are can be easily read by all users, including those with like disabilities that may have to rely on some screen readers or low vision tools. So what we're doing too with some of these forms and even our trainings now, we're having to make sure that it makes it accessible before we can send it out. So sometimes that will cause a little bit of a delay in getting some things out. The better we get at making these forms accessible, the quicker we can do it. You'll see that they'll get posted sooner. So like slides that are going to be posted, it may take slightly longer than it did before, but again, our goal is to have them within a week to you after these trainings. All right, that is all I had for today. I will go look in the chat now to see if we have anything in the chat, or if anybody does have questions, they can enter them to the chat now. I will wait a couple of minutes to see if we have anything to come in. So I have a question asking about where the review schedule is next year. If you go on to, depends. If you go to the old website, it'll be under resources. If you go to the new, it'll also be under resources, and you can search it by clicking on administrative review, and the schedule will be is posted there. It's actually the 5-year schedule that is posted there. Either way, it's going to be under resources. We have a question about professional standards, depending on the type of employee that was hired. So if it's halfway through the school year, they will require half of the training needs. So if it's a technician versus a manager versus a director, it would be half of their requirements. And if they were hired in April, you still need to make sure that they have enough hours. So normally, I have a question about when can SFAs expect to find out when their administrative review will be conducted. It's normally depending. So if CNR is doing your review, announcement letters go out close to the beginning of the school year, August, September-ish. But usually the reviews do not actually start on site until October, usually the earliest. For LGOE, we normally at least 6 weeks in advance, sometimes more than that. So you should know usually close to the beginning of the school year. If you are unsure though, or if you're asking, you can email us directly. And if it's one that we are doing, we can kind of have an idea. And if not, usually CNR will send out their announcements all at one time, I believe. All right, I am not seeing any more questions popping up in the chat. As always, though, if you do have questions, please give us a call at the main number, or you can email us at the general email address, the child nutrition programs at la.gov, and we will always get back to you as soon as we can. So, with that, I will end today's call, and we will look forward to seeing you next week on the CEP elections training. Thank you.